Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I'm joined by somebody that means a lot to me for a couple different reasons, and we'll get into that in a second, but it's the awesome Nick Marini. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me.
No, dude, this is so cool. We were able to make this happen, and you guys may recognize Nick from Summer of Eight, Chicago Med, and his Twig from Cobra Kai, which has quickly become a fan favorite character going back in the flashbacks. And growing up, the Karate Kid meant so much to me, man. Like between the Karate Kid and Rocky, that's how I learned how to fight.
I'm
And
from
now
Philly.
you are in that universe, man. So
It's been
first,
awesome.
before we go into anything else, what's it like being a part of Cobra Kai? Like what has that been like for you?
It's been so much fun. I mean, first off, it's like you said, like I have an older brother, so Karate Kid was very much on my radar because of him, and just because it's legendary in its own right. But it's been not only so fun, and not only are the fans so awesome about the show, they're so dedicated, so passionate, so respectful, and just like, but it's also just been such an honor getting to be sort of trusted with what is a pretty legendary character.
Yes.
And getting to show a side of young Terry Silver that we haven't seen before. So that was really fun, and it was like, as an actor, I think one of the it is rare that you get to play a character that there's a direct comparison to. It's not like a play where someone's played this character, but we know it's going to be different. Like I am playing the young version of this person, and I have to arrive somewhere eventually, which is really fun because it's very different than where we meet Twig.
Right.
So it's just been a real honor and a real blast, and getting to work with all those people has been so fun.
Yeah, and like it's an inspiration too, because like I said, you grew up as a big fan of this franchise, like a lot of us did, and now no matter whatever happens from today on, you're in that forever.
Yeah,
Your name is tied to the fucking Karate Kid forever, man, and that's the coolest thing in the world.
When I told my brother, he was like, "Oh, are you serious?" It was awesome.
It's always cool because, like I said, I got a little brother, and he's a police officer, so obviously I look up to him as well for the job that he does, and he looks up to me for this stuff. And then it's the same thing, no matter what, you're always going to be happy when older brother's happy. When you make your older brother smile because of something you do.
If the older brother thinks it's cool, you better believe it's cool.
Right. Yeah, that never goes away. Starts at Nintendo 64, never goes away, man. Now I do want to get into this releasing today, you guys, and I do have the links down here in the description. You can check out Night Night. It's a new female-driven psychological thriller directed by Nikki Koss and also starring Brenna D'Amico, Disney's princess right now, Tony Todd, Eric Roberts, man, and then you have this gentleman Nick in there as well. Now that cast alone, if that doesn't make you want to check this film out, Nick, since this just came out today, what can you give us a little bit that's spoiler free for the people that have yet to watch it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a psychological thriller. I think what is fun about this one is, I think what is fun about psychological thriller in general is that it can really run the gamut. Some of it is really sort of esoteric. Some of it can have like those sci-fi or sort of like more heavy, non-realistic elements. And I think this one sits in a fun space of maybe being a little more grounded in its like psychological thriller aspects, while still, I think, definitely being part of the genre.
Right. And what I love about this is you have up and comers like yourself and Brenna who are working with, horror and psychological thriller icons like Eric and Tony. That's that perfect mix of I want to go into this movie for Tony and Eric, but I come out with this new appreciation of you and Brenna, which is funny because people, like I said, Brenna is like the queen of Disney right now. So for her to take on a role like this is so amazing to me because she's young just like you, and you don't want to get that typecast as a certain role.
Exactly.
And from what I've heard, she's amazing. Nikki has said nothing but the best things about Brenna and you and Tony. And
I was fortunate enough to have quite a few scenes with Brenna. And she's just a fantastic person to work with, fantastic person, both on and off set. She really threw herself into this, and there were some, when you're shooting something like a psychological thriller, there are going to be days that are like pretty exhausting. So it was just so fun to have someone leading, like Brenna, leading the way and just really throwing herself into every scene and into every take. It was real class.
And you guys can check that out right down here. A little bit of a synopsis. Brenna's character, there's an accident. She has to go home and take care of some things. I can't get too deep into the story, but I promise you, not only for the cast, but for the story, the direction. I love the fact that we have a female director with a female lead, and a lot of the bigger names, like I said, with Eric and Tony, but also with Nick. You have these guys. I can't say too much about Nick's character either, but Brenna, if I'm saying too much, let me know, but you are Brenna's love interest, correct?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to say much more than that, but
no.
You guys need to make sure you're checking this out. And all you got to do is click a link in the description. You're going to be entertained for the next hour and a half. So another thing I want to say, man, thank you, because I know that during the pandemic, you guys kept us rolling. Actors, actresses, producers, directors, especially in the indie scene with the psychological horrors, that, the thrillers, the horrors.
Yeah.
You guys never took a break. You guys didn't stop, and you kept working to entertain everybody. Yeah, you have a family to feed, whatever, but you kept us entertained too, man. And so from the bottom of my heart, I tell every guest that comes on here, whether it's on air or off air, thank you for the sacrifices that you made, all the testing you had to go through, all the changes that have gone on sets. We do appreciate you, because without you, we all would have went fucking nuts. And what do we do in response? Keep your politics to yourself. We appreciate you. We know you're human beings, and
I thank you for that. I think getting to tell stories for a living is it's a blessing, and I take it very seriously. I think on a fundamental level, if you're looking at like just what humans need to survive, you could, it's easy to not want to fund art. But I think when you really want to examine what makes us who we are, and what is so unique and wonderful about humans, it's that artistic expression. So appreciate it.
And man, like I said, all of us would have been in a whole lot darker place if we didn't have your guys' entertainment. And luckily we're in a world now where there's a bunch of different avenues of, Shudder, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu. We have that, but you know what? If you guys didn't continue to work and put your bodies at risk to make this happen, it wouldn't have happened. So we appreciate you. Please continue to stay safe. My wife is a respiratory therapist, so COVID is something in this house we take very, very seriously. Continue to keep yourself safe. We need you to keep working, man. I'm excited to see where your star goes from here. But
it'll be fun.
So I said this at the beginning, and I said it a minute ago. So I got the first and second act covered, but I'm gonna say it again. The links to the movie are down here in the description, as well as I have Nick's social media links. So make sure you're clicking these. Give him a follow. I followed him on Instagram earlier. Love the guy. I'm so excited to work with him. This is something that after the as a fan of Cobra Kai, sure, this is SledgeHammer horror. We all know how much of a horror fan I am. But growing up in a video store, you all also know how much of an 80s fan I am, because that's what I did, was watch movies all the time. And like I said, if it wasn't for Rocky and the Karate Kid, I would have lost way more fights than I did. Crane kick. That's what I still threaten my wife with the crane kick when she's mean to me. So we know what you're doing now, and we know what you're doing in the future. But man, I want to take it back to the past here for a little bit. And I want to talk about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie. And boy, is this a doozy. Your first horror movie was
The Ring. And well, let's amend that. The first horror movie that I started to watch was The Ring. What gets me about horror movies, because there are some horror movies that I can watch and I love. Yeah. But the thing that gets me is knowing someone's going to do something stupid and not being able to do anything back. It is just like, I always say, it is difficult for me to watch horror films sometimes for the same reason that it's difficult for me to watch Jim Carrey's Liar Liar. Because every 5 seconds you're like, no, oh no. Like, it's just like, my heart is just like constantly, I just like can't take it. But I remember I was at a sleepover and they were like, "We're gonna watch The Ring," and I was like, "Oh, I've heard about this. Oh no!" And I think they put they put the VHS in the movie in the TV in the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm out, dude. I can't. I was like, I can't. I was like, I don't want to. I don't know when this lady's coming out of this TV, but I do. I cannot handle it.
Yeah.
So that was my first. That was my first.
And it's funny because I say this in two different ways. And please, nobody out there think I'm being condescending or anything like that. That's not my intention right now. But I don't think The Ring would affect very many kids today like it did us because of the lack of VHS tapes. I don't think, growing up, that's what we did was we watched movies on VHS. So kids see it now and they're like, okay, bitch, don't scare me. I ain't gonna watch no VCR tape, so, but another thing to remember, I agree with you. I think this movie is mortifying. This movie legit scared me very, very much. And this movie's PG-13. That's something that goes under the radar to a lot of people this is a PG-13 movie. And it's to me, it's in the top tier of PG-13 movies with Insidious. You have Insidious and you have The Ring. And I think that's your top tier of PG-13 horror movies that are genuinely some of the scariest movies I've ever seen.
I feel that.
And The Ring has one of the best jump scares of all time. That scared me so bad when I was a kid. But do you remember which scene it was that affected you the most from The Ring?
I mean, I truthfully, I only watched like maybe a third of it, but it for me, it's like, it felt like, and honestly, I think the beginning bit of The Ring, like, isn't really scary in the sense of like, it's daytime. It's like nothing abnormal has happened. But my memory of it is just the foreboding. Like, it's like, the longer something seems nice, the more I'm like, I know what's coming, and I'm like, you're just getting, like, my hairs are starting to stand up higher and higher and higher.
Yeah, like you said, it's a movie that has many iconic scenes, and even though you only finished a third of it, we all remember scenes like Samara coming out of that TV.
Right? Yeah, I mean, that's legendary.
Yeah. And the thing about The Ring is it really kicked off a whole new genre of horror in the United States, where that Japanese horror was at this point now starting to come over here, where you have The Ring, then that turned into The Grudge, and you started to get all this like really mainstream attention to what Japanese horror was doing at the time. Yeah. And horror, just like everything else, goes in cycles, where you'll get your psychological horrors that are going for a while, and then that will turn into your slashers will come back. And then it goes into, and to watch the rotation of it and see how it all goes, you just need that one movie that'll kick it off. And The Ring did a phenomenal job re-kicking off that type of genre and actually starting that genre here. So with The Ring, a question I always ask, because now we're a little older, maybe we could take it a little better, but every time I talk about a movie, if it hasn't been done yet, would you like to see, and I'm not talking about a sequel, I'm talking about a straight reboot or remake, would you like to see The Ring remade today using the technology that we have today? Maybe it happens through a social media app, or it happens, it doesn't happen through a VHS tape, obviously, but you got to stay with the times. But maybe there's a social media app or something like that. Would you like to see something like that happen today?
I think that would be fun. I mean, I think that would be fun in that it gives you other avenues to explore. Mm-hmm. It's like what is so interesting about a VHS tape is that it's a physical object, and it even has within it another physical object that you have to physically rewind, right? Like there is like, it's tactile. It's like, you can, it's not so hard to imagine that like this particular roll of tape is cursed, or whatever, because there's something to latch on to. But I think it would be interesting, whether how you would approach that. But I think it would definitely be fun. I mean, it would be gnarly.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing,
because there's so many more places we could get got.
Yes.
I mean, we have so many more screens in our lives these days.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be, like you said, you send your buddy a little, Snapchat, and it turns into her coming through. You know what I mean? Like, they can do so many different things with that now. another thing I love about The Ring is it's not exclusive to humans, where a lot of horror movies are. This thing, it overtakes humans. You have the scene in The Ring with the horse, where the horse is so spooked and it runs on the boat and it jumps off the boat, and then they all run to the back and look, and you just see the blood coming out from the propellers. Yeah. Like, you have all this, and that's what I love about this movie is it's so scary. And it doesn't rely on jump scares. It has the one really good one that we've already talked about. But besides that, it's really just a fear that you have in your body the whole time you're watching it of, how is this going to end? What are they going to do to save this little boy? That's, because that's the whole point of the movie is her son watches the tape. And now it's, what can I do to save my child? And how is she going to do this?
No, and I think that's such that's what is a great movie. A great movie always has something that is like really viscerally real for most people.
Yeah.
And and I think even you mentioning the animals, right? It's like there are so many accounts of whether it's earthquakes or bombs or gas, animals animals get it and they get out.
Yeah.
And so when you start to see other life leaving and you don't know why, that's really scary.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Nick, this has been amazing. I got 2 more questions for you. The first one's actually not from me. We talked about your first horror movie and what that is, but my little buddy Ghostface has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, Nick? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
My favorite horror movie of all time. I mean, I might have to bring it back. I really like Nosferatu.
Yeah, man.
I really I think it's such an interesting and ultimately like it so many things come out of Nosferatu, whether it's like role-playing games or just other iterations of that classic story. But I feel like Nosferatu is one of the first to do like a really classic horror character, and I love its significance in the genre.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people that have never seen it know Nosferatu's face.
Yes.
The teeth, like it's one of those things where you said that to say it's influential is really underselling how amazing Nosferatu is. I mean, for the sake of anything, I mean, they use it in SpongeBob. There's an episode where they're like, Nosferatu, and he's going to flip the light on and off. Like it's little things like that. That's when you've made an impact. I mean, you go back to.
No, go on. Well, I was just going to say it's what they were able, the technology they had to make like it even adds to its impressiveness in my mind.
Right. Yeah. When they have nothing but practical effects at their fingertips. And Kurt Cobain, I love a quote that he said at one point. He said, "We knew that Nirvana was doing something right when Weird Al called and asked if he could parody Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Yeah.
And I always feel like that, just like Scary Movie. That's how you know that Scream was doing something right. And Nosferatu still to this day, which is 70 years later, is still, SpongeBob uses it, Nosferatu, shut lights on and off. That's when you know that you've done something influential, when things that are outside of your own genre are still grabbing onto you and holding on. That's when you know you've done something right. And Nosferatu, much like a lot of the Universal monsters of Dracula, Wolfman, my dude right here, the creature from the Black Lagoon. I grew up with the Universal monsters, and I think that's something that I would love to see. Well, we just had a new iteration of the Invisible Man, and Lee Winnell, I think, took that and modernized it and made it so amazing and so scary. I'd love to see a Nosferatu or a Dracula or a Frankenstein, or please God, a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie like that now, and see what they could do with that now with the use of practical and CGI effects. So, this has been so much fun, man. And we always end this with a skull count. Now, what we're doing here is we're going to go back to The Ring, and we're going to be ranking this movie 0 to 5 skulls on how much this movie affected you. Now, what we're doing, like I said, we're not being critics. We're not judging the movie, anything like that. And with you not being able to finish the whole thing, I think I know the answer, but I always got to ask, because that's how we end it. 0 skulls being the worst and 5 being the best. What would you rank The Ring?
Oh, I mean, I think I gotta go high on this one. I think I gotta like go like 4.55, man. Like I didn't watch a horror movie for a while after watching not even that whole movie. Like,
Right.
You know.
See, and it's funny because that's horror does that. Sometimes it sinks its teeth in and you want to go immediately and try to get that again. But I have a buddy of mine that the first horror movie he watched was Nightmare on Elm Street. And after Jesus Garcia got the rod, got the sheet wrapped around his neck in the jail, and he got hung, and he, you know, my buddy didn't sleep with sheets on his bed for years after that because he was so scared.
No, they can get you, man. They really can.
So, Nick, I want to thank you again so much for doing this. And everybody, I know I sound like a broken record, but you know what? We had the first act, we had the second act. We're here at the finale. We're at the third act. So the link for Night Night is down here in the description. If you can't watch it now, make sure you get a chance to watch this film because, like I said, you have a female-driven psychological thriller with an amazing cast. I'm going to try to limit my cursing, but it's a freaking amazing cast that we have in this film. And you're doing yourself a disservice by not watching it because just by the cast alone and by the synopsis, I haven't been this excited about a horror movie in a while. Obviously, growing up a huge horror fan, Candyman, Tony Todd is someone that means a lot to me in my personal life. He rejuvenated horror in my life, scared me so bad, and to watch him play the role that he's playing in this movie, I'm very excited to see him in more of a condensed role. So make sure you guys are clicking the links and make sure you're following Nick on social media. Nick, don't go anywhere, please. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.